Welcome to The Herbal Ire, your podcast on all things holistic health, medical astrology, spirituality, herbalism, and so much more. Presented by your host, Ire Atla, medical astrologist, herbalist, and naturopath. Let's dive right into today's topic, love and light. Hello and welcome back to The Herbal Ire. I'm your host, Ire Atla, and I am coming at you today to talk more about the Medical Astrology 101 series. Today we will be talking about Gemini. So, before we get started, let's talk about what's going on in the sky right now. So, yesterday, the sun moved into Cancer, so we're officially in Cancer season, which is probably most people's favorite season without realizing it, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's summer solstice, it's Litha, it's where we transition into summertime and warm weather and plenty of sunshine, and people are taking vacations and we're enjoying ourselves and having fun with our families, outdoor activities, all that stuff. So it is one of my favorite seasons. Cancer season is all about nurturing your home life, your family life, and taking care of yourself, self-care, as well as helping care for others. So it's a perfect season for that, being in June, as it is. So it's great. I'm super excited that Cancer season is here. The moon moved into Leo yesterday morning as well. So we have a moon in Leo, which is just coming out of a new moon phase. So it's waxing now, but it's still in like that crescent moon shape. In Leo, we can expect there to be some health issues surrounding like the heart and the back, thoracic area in the back, specifically lower back sometimes, but in the back, in the heart, arteries, all the stuff that Leo rules. Headaches will be more prevalent right now, as well as dehydration. So drink with electrolytes, all of your water, everybody. With the sun in Cancer, we're going to see an increase in fertility. This is a good time of year for those who are looking to get pregnant to start trying. Cancer is one of the most fertile signs of the zodiac. So this is Cancer season. Cancer season is about family, right? So expanding that family in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to be human fertility. It can be animal fertility. You can expand with a puppy or a kitten or, I don't know, a bunny rabbit or whatever else works for your family. It can be adoption. It can be whatever works to like expand that family, adding friends that are now family, anything like that, relationships of some sort that add to that. So it's increase in fertility. You might notice an increase in like sore breasts or breasts with a lot of like cystic kind of fibrous issues. Potentially Cancer rules the breast, and so that can be an issue. We might notice an issue with your periods. They can get better with Cancer or they can get worse depending on where Cancer is in your chart and if the sun moving into Cancer has added or detracted from your Cancer placement in your natal chart. So that's another thing. Stomach issues are huge here. Stomach issues like indigestion, heartburn, acid reflux, and then a little bit to diarrhea or constipation, depending on whether or not the digestion at the front half is working well, will lend to whether or not the back half of digestion is also working well. So stomach issues are huge here. In the sun placement, I tend to see more of like acid reflux and heartburn, indigestion, that kind of stuff, due to the fact of the sun's very drying influence. And so this is why water is so imperative. To make proper stomach acid, you need proper amounts of water, right? Your body needs plenty of water to make that. You also need proper levels of thiamine, which is ruled by Mercury. It helps with all of this internal stuff like that. It's actually a major necessity to produce stomach acid. So if you are having issues with that, taking a thiamine supplement or a vitamin B complex that has all of the B vitamins in it is a good idea. Increasing your intake of eggs, liver, green leafy vegetables. Now is the perfect time for green leafy vegetables because all of like the lettuces and the kales and the spinaches and arugulas and all that are coming in to play right now, right? They are all maturing and getting ready to be harvested. They're all ripening, so those are the perfect things to start adding in. Farm fresh pastured eggs as much as you can. Organic is even better. On organic plus free range. Happy chickens, happy eggs. Liver from grass-fed cows or chickens or pork. You get more in beef liver, but you can get it from any source of liver. If you don't like liver, and I know many people don't, then desiccated beef liver capsules are another way to go as well. So all things to kind of just keep an eye on during this time. And if you notice that you are struggling with some of these, or that you've had these before and they seem to be getting worse and you don't know what to do about it, or you're unsure, or you try increasing your water and your thiamine intake and you're still not noticing a difference, reach out to me. Let's chat, see about getting you a reading done, and see what's going on with your body, your bio individual design, your cosmic blueprint, and figure out a customized protocol just for you to follow and get you feeling better. So let's dive into Gemini then. So the sun actually just left Gemini on the 20th of this month. And I don't know about you, but oh my God, this was the last month was just rough for me, like super rough personally. There was a lot of like communication issues. Energy was all over the map and really not easy to access when I needed it. I was tired on a level that like I have not felt in a long time. So this past Sunday was the new moon in Gemini. And the new moon always brings me low energy anyway. I'm very influenced by the moon with my placements in my chart the way they are, and so it makes it really hard on certain moon placements. The new moon is a time for me that's very low energy. It's also the time of my bleeding phase in my menstrual cycle, and so that already comes with lower energy as well. So it's just really I was just exhausted. I literally went to bed Monday. The moon was still in Gemini on Monday for part of it. I went to sleep on Monday. I fell out at 8:30 in the evening and I didn't wake up until 8 a.m. the next day. Like, that's how tired I was, and just really, really apparently needed that rest. So that mutable energy combined with the new moon was just really, really affecting me this past month, and I'm sure plenty of you listening as well. Because Gemini is a very great sign, but it comes with a lot of that mutable energy as well as being an air sign. So air's already kind of just like mutable, right, as it is. And then mix that in with the actual placement of Gemini in that transition of seasons, and it can be a recipe for disaster for many people in their energy levels. So I really want to dive into Gemini today. It's really such a great sign, and it really gets a lot of hate from people who don't truly understand astrology. And to be honest, I really don't get it. Like, Geminis are amazing and they're much needed in our society, right? They're the ones who are willing to talk about the hard shit and act change through their words mainly, but also their actions. Like, they're not afraid to get dirty and make things happen. And they are always searching for like knowledge and learning new things that they can then disseminate to other people and use that knowledge that they just gained to enact this change that they want. And I think it gets a bad rap because of that mutable energy, where one day they're like here and the next day they're like somewhere else, and their energy can be all over, so they can be really gung-ho about something or someone one day and not so much the next day. But that doesn't mean that they're not still into that thing. Their energy is just somewhere else for a moment, and it will come back. It just has to go through the changes, that mutable change, right? That mutable energy, and come back. So let's dive in. Gemini is the sign of the twins, and the glyph on your natal chart looks like two vertical lines with a horizontal line over the top and the bottom of each line. And so it kind of depicts the twofold energy and nature of Gemini, which is where I think Gemini gets a bad rap in modern astrology. And I think too, people who don't truly understand astrology don't understand that you are more than just your sun sign, right? Just because the sun sign acts a certain way or behaves a certain way or has a certain energy doesn't mean that that's how that person is going to act. So not all Geminis are going to be the backstabbing evil people that everyone say they are, right? Because that's not where you get just your personality from. Your personality is not just your sun sign. It's a combination of your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, and the overall energy and other transits and positions of the planets in your chart, right? So you're not just your sun sign, and you're not just that mutable energy. Now you could have a lot of mutable energy in your chart, which is a thing. You can have more mutable, fixed, or cardinal at any time, and that can make things more difficult for you when it comes to certain things, but that doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you who you are, and you need to learn ways to work with it, and other people need to learn ways to be more compassionate about it. So, as I've been saying, Gemini is our first mutable sign in the zodiac. The energy of Gemini is so all over the place sometimes. Like I said, they can easily go from one mood to another quickly, one desire to another quickly, one idea to another, etc., etc. And that mutable energy is enhanced by the fact that Gemini is an air sign. We will talk more about like that mutable energy and the air sign when we get into the evolved and unevolved nature, about how that really can affect a Gemini, not a Gemini a Gemini native, there we go, and someone with a lot of mutable energy or Gemini energy in their chart. So Gemini is a very yang, masculine, active energy sign. So this is a sign that likes to always be on the go. So that's like due to the combination of the air, the mutable, the yang energies, right? So it all combines together to really create an individual that's very fluid in their energy. They can be really low energy one day, really high energy the next, really kind of in between that energy, another. And honestly, sometimes that can come in 10 minutes. They can go from high, low, medium, and back again. This is a sign where the natives really find themselves very often exhausted and burned out. Their nervous systems are exhausted from always having to be on and going, right? One of the best things that you can do if you're a native Gemini, so that's sun, moon, or rising, is to stop and rest. And we'll move into that more when we get down to like the holistic ways to manage things. But seriously, y'all, stopping and resting and like detaching from everything in life, and technology especially, is like one of the like most important things that you can do if you're a Gemini native, is regular technology detoxes, people detoxes, time in nature away from everybody else and other influences. These are the best things that you can do. So yeah, So air signs are amazing for many reasons. The best one is that they have an insatiable desire for like knowledge and learning and challenging the way that things have always been. So these air signs just really love to enact change. These are like the activists of the world many times. Someone with a high amount of air in their chart will be someone that has a hard time really watching the injustices in the world and not doing something to try to change them. They hurt when others hurt. Many are very empathetic, and that really does lend to their desire to help others out in this world. And it can be other sentient beings that live here on the planet with us, right? It's not just necessarily human beings. My oldest daughter is a Gemini Sun. She has a high amount of air in her overall chart as well, and I can really see this in her. Her biggest desire in the world is to help others who are suffering. A lot of times, Gemini natives tend to be psychiatrists, psychologists, in some sort of like social work, social justice, politics. My oldest daughter wants to be an animal conservationist so that she can enact change in that area and help animals that are going extinct due to human interference or poaching. And she wants to bring those poachers to justice, right? Like she talks about it constantly. She has a hard time hearing about the suffering of others, and many native Geminis, as well as just a lot of air in someone's chart, feel the same way. So these are the people that you will see that are out there, doing their best to enact change and helping others that live on this planet with us. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury was the messenger of the gods, and in medical astrology is the messenger of the body as well, right? It rules communication in the body as well as like out in the world, technology, the lungs, the nervous system, etc. Speech, that kind of stuff. Where in Gemini rules the lungs, specifically the upper part of the lungs. Cancer rules the bottom half of the lungs. So due to that sun placement currently in Cancer, we may notice an increase in like lower lobe pneumonia going on. Just an FYI, throwing that out there for you as well. It also rules the hands and arms, speech, hearing, and the peripheral nervous system. It co-rules hearing with Taurus, by the way. So you can really see that being governed by Mercury is like very apropos for this sign, right? Because it rules very much a lot of the same parts of the body that like Mercury rules in like in the world. The house Gemini rules is the third house on the wheel of the zodiac. The third house in Gemini in particular embodies the words I think. So this house governs mental activity, learning, siblings, communication, all the things that are in like your immediate environment to get your point across and communicate with other people in your life. So Gemini in its high expression, or when it's an evolved state, there is, like I said, a very airy quality to Gemini, a very airy nature. This comes in a form when they're in their high expression and their high evolution of being a really powerful intellect and psychological disposition. So this is where we actually will see that their vital force, their sun force, right, the life battery, is really located, is in their brain and their intellect, things like that. They are highly intellectual. We can see it reflect in them as like they're very exploratory. They don't have very many boundaries about things, like they're willing to go outside of, their boundaries and their comfort zones, right? And they have a very curious nature. They're quick to the point, they're clever, they're witty, they have good senses of humor usually. They are the people that love information. They are always interested in and researching like lots of different topics that are of interest to them at that moment. And it can be really vast. It can be like one moment they're researching, like medical astrology, and the next moment they're researching like, how do I make a solar oven? And then the next minute that brings them to, what can I do in a solar oven? Okay, and now let's talk about that. I saw this weird plant over here. Let me learn all about that, right? So they're intellect, their airy quality, that thirst for information and knowledge just takes them from one place to another. They jump all over the place. These are the people that tend to think they're ADHD or be diagnosed as ADHD, because they just have that very mutable air quality, right? That they like to jump from thing to thing, and that's okay. That's just who they are. There's nothing wrong with them. They have a difficult time focusing at times because of that. And so just learning how to kind of control that energy and find a way that works for them to get shit done just is much more important than like medicating themselves, especially because Geminis is one of the signs of the zodiac that has a really hard time with medications, because they have really weird reactions to them. These are the people that come to see the doctor and they have a list of like medication allergies and sensitivities that's like 10 miles long, because they don't react, that mutable energy in their bodies, right, that they're so full of, it doesn't react in the way that people would expect it to. So sometimes they're having these really strange reactions that they swear up and down is not supposed to happen, yet they're having it. So a lot of times learning to control their environment and make their environment what they need it to be for them to focus and function and stay on track is much more important to them than necessarily taking herbs or medications or something to help that. Geminis are distracted easily by their environment, so controlling their environment is honestly the best way to control that focus. And we'll see that in their high expression, right? When they're in that high expression, they will be more readily able to control their thing and want to control their environment. The goal with their like wanting to learn everything, though, is not just to like know it. It's to actually like learn it, transform it into wisdom, anchor it down in their bodies and hearts, and then they go out and they live it themselves, right? These are the people that are like the living embodiment, an example of what they want to do in the world, the change that they want to see. They tend to think very analytically, logically, and rationally most of the times. They can see all points of like an argument at the same time. And so, because of that, these tend to be the people that play devil's advocate more often than not, because they do have that ability to take that information in that everybody said, assimilate it really quickly into their bodies, and see, like, snap, 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 all of the different points of views and potential outcomes, and why each one is right, wrong, or, maybe won't work out how people think it will, or needs to be changed slightly. And they will argue their point because they know in their bodies, in their hearts, that they are right. And so they can seem a little stubborn sometimes about something and unwilling to change once they come to a decision, because they just know, because they can see everything and assimilate it so quickly, that what they're saying is correct, and they don't want to back down from that. They have a very sharp, expansive mind, and one of their favorite things to do is to communicate in some way, shape, or form, which they are very good at. These tend to be like TV personalities. A lot of times you'll see them as like actors, or in some kind of a role where they are, out in the public and seen a lot, communicating some way, shape, or form. Radio, podcast, videos, somewhere that gets them to be able to disseminate that information that they know and they've learned. They're just good at it. They're a lot of times they're even stand-up comedians, which I know doesn't sound like, that would fit with this, but it does, because they're very quick-witted and they're quick to humor and to find the humor in situations, even in bad situations, and be able to turn that and like transform it and transmute it into something better. So a lot of stand-up comedians probably have a lot of Gemini influence in their chart. So on the other opposite side, though, Gemini and its low expression, its low evolution, sometimes they can be like too intellectual, right? They need to constantly think about and rationalize everything, which means they really get disconnected from their heart and disconnects them from like their bodies and disconnects them from their environment, which Gemini really needs to be connected to their environment, but in a good way. And they need to be, out in nature frequently, and they need to really learn to listen to their heart. And so when they get into their low expression, or they're living in it currently, they really tend to be very over rational, over logical, and very like stuck in their viewpoint and unable to see anybody else's, and therefore, maybe form a new opinion and then change their mind. There is a really deep need here for Geminis to connect with their emotional body and cultivate the ability to express that through language. So when they're not listening to their heart, they're dissociated from that, and they're too overly too overly rational. There we go. And their mind starts running the show. We really see that they become very ungrounded. They spin off into the ethers. They kind of lose touch with reality. They get kind of caught up in like basically just being addicted to getting new information, but not really doing anything with it. So this is the ones you'll see that are really addicted to like their phone and media and social media especially, and like really wanting to argue on every post about everything for really no good reason. When they get stuck in this pattern, they forget to eat. They end up binging then on like quick sugary snacks and other things that aren't super nutritious, because they're so caught up in that addiction and having to argue with others to prove their point and show everybody how wrong they are, that they honestly forget to take care of themselves. And so this leads to overextension, overexertion, and ultimately their nervous system burning out, right? And another thing that can happen when they're in this low expression is kind of becoming like the classic know-it-all, which I don't know if you know a know-it-all, but you don't want to be around them, right? They're annoying. They drive you crazy. You just constantly have to be like taking deep breaths and walking away from them before, you resort to violence, because it's just very annoying for someone to want to just try to always force that opinion on you and that they know better than you, even if you happen to be, let's say, an expert in the thing that you're talking about, right? And so because of that, that can happen with B if they're living too much in their low expression. The sign is actually pretty sensitive, ironically, emotionally. They can tend towards being a bit on like the psychic side, right? Because they can really pick up on other people's energies and things. And So they can sometimes like finish sentences for you, interrupt because they think they already know what you're going to say, or they just flat out don't listen to you because they are already thinking about what they're going to say in response, right? They get so caught up in like, I know what this person's going to do and I have, the ability to do that, that they're not actually there present with you in the now, right? They're like up in their head living in some other world and not actually here in the moment with you talking to you. So they really need to, cultivate the ability to listen if they then wish to be heard back, right? Because people who do that, that are really like in their heads and thinking they know what you're going to say and are, interrupting you and trying to finish your sentence and think they know more than you, are people that you don't then want to listen to, right? When they start talking, you're just like, why am I even listening to you now or trying to when you couldn't even give me the courtesy of doing that too? And then you just are like, okay, so then you don't hear them either, or you leave. And so they can really be in their low expression, they can kind of get stuck in that sometimes. And so recognizing that if you are a native Gemini and you realize that, hey, I've been doing that, it's okay. It's not necessarily, wrong or bad. It just is what it is. You are realizing now that, oh, okay, I've been made aware that this is me in my low expression and I really need to move into that higher expression where I'm, you know, using that more empathetic side to listen to people and relate to them instead of listening half-heartedly and then just sitting there thinking about my answers and coming up with that and then just responding with those whether it makes any sense to the context or not. So on the shadow side of this sign, on like that dark side that we all have and we all need to learn to integrate into the light side of us, there is a potential here, and it's just a potential. It doesn't mean that it will happen, but there is that potential for psychological manipulation. It's not really lying per se, but more like a twisting of facts to really reorient the situation that suits what they're seeing and what they want to get out of it, right? What suit what their needs are and their desires at that moment. Their minds can be very cunning and tricky when they're in the low expression. So if you're a native Gemini or you have a lot of Gemini influence in your chart and you notice this about yourself, that's the only reason I'm pointing this out, is for you to notice, understand that that's not really who you are. That's you who's your not self, right? You're not living up to your highest potential and then transmuting that and moving into your highest potential. And honestly, the best way to do that is to stop and rest, get outside into nature, ground yourself, learn to meditate, and come back into who you really are. Come back into that heart space, and that heart space will lead you into that high expression, right? Learning to, think about others more than yourself sometimes and helping others out, volunteering, things like that will help you get out of that low expression and move into the higher expression where you have a more well integrated Gemini in your chart. Moving on to herbs, there are certain herbs that are governed by Gemini that can be really good to like work into your daily nutritional intake to help no. Let me go back before we do the herbs. Let me go back to the common health concerns that we might see here. So, as I mentioned, nervous system burnout. Lung issues are common in this sign, asthma, bronchitis, etc. Laryngitis sometimes too from like talking so much. They burn out their throat, right? Speech impediments, ironically, can be common in those with a native Gemini or a strong Gemini presence in their chart. Learning disorders, carpal tunnel, because they govern the hands and the arms, so that wrist connection there, and they tend toward repetitive motions because, like I said, a lot of them in their low expression tend to be keyboard warriors, so they're on their phone typing a lot because they're addicted to that like need for constant information right now instead of consuming some and then living their life and coming back and consuming it later. And so they can lead to overuse disorders in their wrists and their hands. Malnourishment due to undereating is really common. I see this frequently in a lot of my Gemini native clients that come to see me, is that a lot of their health problems that they're having are literally caused by the fact that they are undereating because they've gotten themselves kind of stuck in some of those low expression traits, and they're they're not nourishing their bodies and their minds in a way that they need. And then obviously media and technology addictions are prevalent here. So like I said, this sign loves to be on the go. It loves receiving input. So if one gets kind of stuck in their low expression or their low evolution, this is like much more of a concern for the aforementioned health issues than if one's in their high expression or their high evolution, right? Gemini natives need to really focus on daily movement, their nutritional intake, and their water intake. A dried out nervous system is a tired nervous system that struggles to function properly, and that just lends to more issues, which can start a cascade of other things. One of the biggest things that I see with Gemini natives is that they really struggle with getting into a routine that serves them and their health. But once they have a routine, they are like great. Their health improves, things start working, but it's hard to get there sometimes. Gemini natives need a lot of like a support system that understands this about them and is good at helping them stick with the routines that they set. And also they need to really lean into their opposite sign to do this, right, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is pretty good at routines usually. They do much better with them. They actually integrate them really well. And Sagittarians also really need that as well. They govern the part of the nervous system as well with Gemini, and so leaning more into the routines and the rest that Sagittarians are usually pretty good about giving themselves is imperative for Geminis here to do. So now on to the herbs. These are some herbs we can work into our daily nutritional intake to really help with any of the health concerns that I mentioned above. So these are go-to cola, bacopa, milky oats, licorice root, passion flower, lobelia, and cinnamon. Cinnamon is actually a really good one, like all well-rounded one for all of the stuff that you may experience as a Gemini native. So, and you can make with cinnamon sticks, you can make a cinnamon tea that you drink multiple times a day, or you sip on throughout the day, or you can just add cinnamon to like your food or your other teas, just sprinkle it on top, mix it in, kind of a thing. So cinnamon is actually really, really good. Milky oats is another really, really good one here because milky oats is very nourishing to the nervous system. It really helps soothe it and calm it and add moisture to it, which Gemini natives have very tired nervous systems. They're very dry and tired and they need that nourishment, right? So milky oats is also a very good one as well to add in. So then other holistic ways that we can prevent those health concerns from happening or help manage them if they're already happening. Number one, the top number one thing, the best thing that you can do if you do none of these other ones, do this one. Sleep. Sleep is really seriously the best remedy for any native Gemini to help their bodies heal any issues. Typically, this is because they don't get enough sleep. Many Gemini natives will struggle with sleep mainly because they don't have a routine, right? Or B, they're addicted to their phones and media and they stay up till 2 or 3 a.m. because they're on their phones scrolling social media instead of going to bed. So really making sure that you find a way to set up a sleep routine, stick to it no matter what, is really the best thing you can do for your overall health. And again, lean into that opposite sign of Sagittarius to help you do that. Next best remedy is magnesium. Gemini natives already tend to be very low naturally in magnesium, and magnesium is needed for so many things, but like one of those is helping the nervous system, right, and calming the nervous system. So if you're finding that you are a Gemini native or you have a high amount of Gemini energy, mutable energy in your chart, and you're constantly like your brain is racing, you can't sleep, your anxiety is high, you just feel like a nervous wreck all the time, you could potentially be very low in magnesium and need to add some into your diet. You can do this through food, but with the way the soil is in America, especially, I don't know about other countries, but our soil here has been very depleted of magnesium, so you usually cannot get enough through your diet anymore, no matter how many organic, whatever that you're eating, right? So a magnesium supplement is a very good idea. You want to take it at least daily. an hour before bed is actually really good because it'll help calm your brain and that racing and the anxiety so you can sleep. I like magnesium glycinate for this. It is actually best for this kind of thing because it is known to help calm the brain and the nervous system. So it has that calming effect that you need so that you can sleep and rest like you need. Make sure that you're on a very nutrient dense whole foods diet, right? You need lots of variety in your nutritional intake, but you also need a plan that's like easy and adaptable for your ever changing needs and moods that day, right? So like eat on a schedule is great. Make sure that when you do that, you set timers, you eat on a schedule, you eliminate all distractions as much as possible, turn off your phone, put it on. Mine has a focus mode you can turn on and like nothing comes through. Put your phone on that, turn off the TV, go eat outside. Actually, eating outside is super great for Gemini natives. If the weather is good, go outside. But eating on a schedule is great. But then having an adaptable plan, meaning that if you don't have to, if you planned on, let's say Monday you're going to have chicken and broccoli, but Monday comes and chicken and broccoli doesn't sound good, have other nutrient dense foods on hand that you can easily switch and make whatever does sound good, but will still fill those nutritional needs that your body has. Um, and yes, again, reduce, eliminate completely distractions because this can lead to mindless eating as a Gemini. Instead of being mindful about how much you're eating, it can lead to just like mindlessly putting food in your mouth and not really paying attention to how much you ate or what kind of food you're eating, and it can cause to some nutritional deficits because of that. So it's very good to try that no distraction thing while you're eating. If this is something that is hard for you and you want or need like an astro nutrition plan made just for you, reach out to me. This is part of what I do as a medical astrologist is I help people understand how their bodies are designed to intake nutrients, use them, disseminate them, and because of that, which foods are going to be best for them. And I can help you come up with a plan for that. So let's talk if this is something that you struggle with. And this can be for anybody listening, even if you're not a Gemini native or have a lot of Gemini influence in your chart. The other thing, lots of daily movement, especially movement that works on the body parts of their opposite sign Sagittarius. So this means movements that really work the legs and the thighs and the hips, as well as like that muscular aerobic. So weightlifting is actually really good. Skating. My Gemini Sun child loves roller derby, and that's been great for her because, again, it's working the legs, but it's also a lot of physical activity, right? So that works great. Skiing, hiking, anything that really focuses a lot of use on like the legs to get you, to do that exercise. So biking is really good, things like that. And of course, that doesn't mean neglect the upper half of your body, but doing more focus on using your legs. Like say you do that 4 times a week and the other 3 you do something on your upper body, but make sure that your focus is more on that because that will help you burn off that energy that you need to burn off, right? Get outside in nature, and this means leave your phone and all your tech and all of that in the house and go outside. Geminis need that daily time in nature due to all that air and mutable energy that comes with being a Gemini native. You're very, have that air type quality, right? So it lends to a lot of ungroundedness and flights of fancy and bouncing from one thing to another. If you find that that's you and you struggle with focus, your environment is not giving you what you need. That means it's time to leave that environment and get outside, even if it's for 10 minutes in the sunshine. Take some breath, do some meditation, do some sun salutations, sit on the earth, walk barefoot, but get some time in nature. You need that. And you need it more than other people. So 2 to 3 times a day is ideal. Obviously, with the way our society is and work and things like that, that's not always going to be possible, but eat your lunch outside on your lunch breaks if you need to. Get up a little bit sooner and take a 10-minute walk in the morning in the sunshine before you head to work. Do things that you know are going to enable your success instead of set you back. Water, 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 water. More water and electrolytes, but plenty of water. Gemini natives are some of the most dehydrated of any sign that I see. And this is mainly because they forget to drink because they get busy, their focus shifts, they forget to do it. They just, it just doesn't even dawn on them until like later, and they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I, why do I feel so bad? Why do I have a headache? Oh, I haven't drank any water today. So, set a timer if you need to remember to drink the water. They make these water bottles now that are like Bluetooth enabled, and they connect to your phone, and they set off a timer on your phone to remind you to when to drink. Some of them play music and light up so that you can't forget about them, and they don't go off until you pick it up and drink something. So, I mean, there is lots of things out there now to help, and I know it's ironic that I'm telling you to use tech to help you remember to drink when I'm also telling you to detox from tech, but use technology wisely, let's say that. But also, next thing you can do is routine detoxes from technology. This is routinely cutting off your own access to your phone, computer, any of that stuff for a day, 2 days, a week at a time, right? Get yourself off of Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff and just take a break and get away from all of that constant input, right? Cutting out or eliminating or even just reducing caffeine altogether is actually really good. Nervous system is already overworked. You don't need to, add any more stimulation to it. If you really are like, oh my God, I need caffeine, I can't live without it, try a green or black tea in the morning instead of coffee, because those nourish your body. Coffee not only gives you the caffeine in a form that's not great, it's very acidic, and it actually strips your body of nutrients as your body has to digest it. So if you're already low in nutrients as a Gemini native who's maybe been struggling to eat the amount that you need to and the nutrient dense foods that you need, adding coffee to the situation is just going to make the situation worse, not better. So cut it out, change it up, whatever you need to do, because you are important and taking care of you is important. I know you all want to save the world, and that is very admirable, and I love you all for it. And I get that because of my oldest, but let me tell you, you need to take care of you too. You can't save the world if you're stuck at home in the bed because you're sick from lack of taking care of yourself and your nervous system being burned out. So be selfish, take care of you, and then you can go save the world with all the other stuff that you want to do. That is it for Gemini today. I hope if you are a Gemini native, you were able to pick up on some useful tips to try for any health concerns you might be having or potentially could get. And if you're not, but you have a Gemini in your life, you could pick up some information to share with them or send them to this podcast to listen. As you know, Geminis love to learn new information, so this would be perfect for them. If you want to know more about how your body is designed to work and how to work with it in the best way possible to maintain your optimal health, I highly suggest you come get a medical astrology reading with me. That is the best way to know, well, your body is cosmically designed to work and function, and the best things that you can do for it, right? Because it's specific for you. I don't do anything generic in my practice. There is no one size fits all, and anybody who tells you that you can have an alternative health practice where everything can be one size fits all is no, don't go to that. Come see me instead. But really, come see me, get a medical astrology reading. I would love to help you know exactly how your body works so that you can live your best life and reach your best optimal health. And if you are a Gemini native or you have a heavy presence of air or mutable energy in your chart, I highly recommend coming and doing more than a medical astrology reading. Come and join my Welcome to Wellness program. It is really the best way to achieve your goals because it has that accountability aspect. It has structure and the foundation and all of the stuff that you need to be able to follow all of the steps and have the support along the way to be able to achieve what you want and not get lost by going down rabbit trails, right? Because I know I've been there myself. I've done that, and I don't want you to have to get the t-shirt too. So you can sign up for a discovery call today to find out more about that and if it's the best program for you or not, and what else I offer that might be better instead, or whatever, or you just want to talk. Let's do that. Sign up for a discovery call. Link is in the show notes. I really can't wait to hear from you guys. Also, just a quick note, come join my Discord community. The Astro Connection community is open and available. I will drop that link in there too. I would love to have you join me. I am working on making this the community to come to to connect with other like-minded individuals who are into medical astrology or astrology in general, spirituality, witchcraft, woo, alternative health, all that stuff where you can learn from me and others and have that community and support that you need when you are working on changing your health, because it's not easy to go it alone. Again, been there, done that, and I don't want you guys to go through that too. Remember to follow me on Instagram at Twin Raven Naturals. If you want to sign up for anything else or just check out, I have some ebooks and stuff for sale on my website. Go to twinravennaturals.com and you can sign up there. If you just want to hit me up with some questions or anything, email me at info@twinravennaturals.com and I will chat with you guys later. Love and light. That's it for another great episode of The Herbal Ire. Tune in next week for more valuable content with your host, Ire Atla.